It's David Childers with Keeping Current Matters. Welcome to the September monthly market report. The goal of the monthly market report is to give you the information you need to be the expert to the clients you serve. And we've got a lot of things we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about a little bit going on with mortgage rates and everything happening out in the world of housing and real estate. So let's go ahead and jump right in. I wanted to maybe start just a little bit differently. I got an email from a friend in the business that just sort of struck me in a way that I believe is a very appropriate way to start. And the reason for why we do the monthly market report. And Matt Clark said this. He said, "You can't pour into others what you don't pour into yourself. If you want to keep your family and your team running smoothly, it takes consistent effort of pouring into them, pouring advice, energy, expertise, wisdom, care, support, and love. In order to do that, you have to seek it out and accept it first. If your own heart grows bitter or expertise is lacking, you'll run out of things to give to others. You can't draw water from a salty spring, so avoid getting salty." Friends, it's, in our business right now where there are many people that are salty. There are many people that aren't pouring into themselves. The monthly market report, the purpose of it is that we want to pour into you, and then you're watching it, you're listening to it. You can then use it and pour into others, whether that's somebody you're working with, whether it's somebody on your team, whatever the case is. That is certainly our hope. The biggest news probably as we come into September is the Fed and their activity. And by the time I'm recording this, the Fed hasn't met yet, but they're saying, hey, we're going to cut rates. And they said this. Fed Chairman said time has come for September rate cuts. And maybe even as you're listening to this, that's happened. But over the last 2 years, we've been on this rise certainly in housing in the 30-year fixed mortgage rate. The Federal Reserve has raised the Fed funds rate. Now they're saying we're going to do something different. When this started happening 2 years ago, it was the fastest rise in the 30-year fixed mortgage rate in recorded history. We need to remember that. Right now, we're 2 years later. And so what I wanted to start off, just our time here in the monthly market report, and maybe our first topic is September Fed meeting and really what's ahead for mortgage rates. And to understand that, if I back up and think about that 2-year period and think about it even as maybe a sickness, and many people listening, would go, yes, it was a sickness. Feels like we've been sick in the business. Rates have risen, and that's caused affordability to be a massive challenge. It's caused transactions to fall, and sort of velocity in our business to fall. But if you think about it this way, oftentimes when you get sick, or when I get sick, at first we're thinking, am I sick? And then, oh gosh, I am sick. You go through a couple of days, hopefully not too long, and the fever breaks. I'm here to tell you, I think what Fed Chairman Powell said in late August in Jackson Hole, he said this. He said the time has come for policy to adjust. The fever is breaking relative to some of the economic conditions that we've seen in rising mortgage rates. I'm not here to say we're out of the woods by any stretch of the imagination, but what I am saying is we're on a different path. When you're sick there, the fever breaks, you're on the path to getting better. Not out of the woods, but on the path heading that way. And so I think it's important for us to pay attention to this, to know how this is affecting our business and what is to come with mortgage rates and how that impacts affordability and how that impacts consumer behavior relative to buying a home. But why is this a case? Well, first thing, inflation in this country is approaching the target rate, not where the Fed wants it to be, but approaching that rate. They're saying, okay, inflation is coming down. And oh, by the way, what's the other piece? The unemployment rate is rising. It's below the average of the last 50 plus years. But they don't want to see, and I think the word they used there was further deterioration in the labor market. But inflation coming down, what's the word I'm looking for? Unemployment rising. And these things signal, all right, we're going to adjust policy. 80% of economists said the Fed will make a quarter point decrease in the range of 5 to a quarter to September. So again, by the time you listen to this, that may have already happened. They've said they're going to do it in September. And that is a good thing. And largely with mortgage rates, it's already priced into the outcome. So see a little bit of impact on that, but not tremendous impact. And to keep this kind of going down the road, most economists expect 2 rate cuts this year. Now, could that be 3? It certainly could, and that could change at any day. But listen, we're talking right now about how many will they versus will they. Okay, and we started off the beginning of the year, thought they would take action in the economy, the Federal Reserve. They didn't. And now we sit here going, okay, in the second half, the remainder of this year, 2, most of this survey was done in July, could be 3. I don't think that's out of the question by any stretch of the imagination. And that is a good thing. And oh, by the way, Lawrence Yun said this, generally the rate cutting cycle is not one and done. 6 to 8 rounds of rate cuts all through 2025 look likely. So what do we know? Fed's taking action. They've adjusted policy. We're on a different course. And then, oh, by the way, every one of the forecasters that we follow at Keeping Current Matters shows the 30-year fixed mortgage rate over the next 6 to 12 months coming down. Now, the one thing I can always tell you, if you try to predict mortgage rates, you'll be wrong. And that's certainly true. Question is, by how much and by when? Of course. But we are in a different path relative to our business going forward. And I think getting out there, understanding that, being optimistic about what that will bring. There was a survey done last year by a Bright MLS that said that 70% of prospective buyers abandoned their search because they couldn't afford a home because of rising mortgage rates, rising prices. And those people will come back into the market. Now, I'm not here to say, we're going to see this dramatic change and, sort of rose-colored glass view of things that aren't true. But I am saying this will cause a little bit of wind, a little bit of slight wind at our back. Not going to get blown over by this wind, but it'll cause that. And that is a good thing. I think many people wonder, is it the right time to buy a home? If mortgage rates are coming down, I'll wait. We'll wait to see what happens. And my question back to them is, what do you think everybody else is going to do? What do you think everybody else will do in that scenario? And I think the reality is there's opportunity right now. It's the old question of timing the market. This comes from Lending Tree. Timing the market is basically impossible. If you're always waiting for the perfect market conditions, you're going to be waiting forever. Buy now only if it's a good idea for you. So certainly, it's a good idea for you and your family. You can afford it. It is a great time to buy a home. And I do believe this. So let me say this. I do believe there's a window of opportunity that buyers have. There's more inventory in the market, a little bit more expensive, but it's there. Right? Because as we go through next year, more people will step back in to the market. One of the things that, as we think about that, in dynamics across the country, there's a very clear thing happening out in real estate. The market is starting to balance. Buyer's market, seller's market, heading by and large in a lot of areas of the country into a balanced market. And I want to kind of break that down real quick. So what is a balanced market? U.S. News says, in general, a housing market with 5 to 7 months supply could be described as a balance between buyers and sellers. Realtor.com, 5 to 7 months indicates a balanced market. CNBC, 6 months supply is considered. There's a widely held sort of thought that 6 months is a balanced market, between a buyer's market, seller's market. We've been in this prolonged seller's market. I believe a couple of things. One, that we're heading into a more balanced market. I do believe that will be sort of dictated by what happens with mortgage rates. Mortgage rates fall, we dip our toe in the 5s, you'll see more people come in, maybe a little bit more seller's market. But there are other concerns right now that are economic concerns that are, things that are enacted and are bearing down on the world and our business that become a bigger deal. But no doubt, if we look at this and we take that approach that we just talked about, this 5 to 7 month window right here is sort of this balanced area that we see things kind of bumping up against. I don't think we're going to go fully into a into a buyer's market anytime soon, but maybe dip our toe into the balanced market, maybe come back into the seller's market and bounce around there for a little while, which, oh, by the way, for somebody thinking about buying a home is a good thing, because homes are sitting on the market a bit longer and sellers are receiving fewer offers. More buyers are insisting on home inspections and appraisals, and inventory is definitely rising on a national basis. Things are sitting on the market longer. Inventory is rising. I've had a chance to be across the country over the last several weeks talking to many, many agents, and there is not a market in this country that is not experienced just about, a rise in active inventory. Now, you may be in one that's not experiencing that. Certainly send us a message and let us know. But most markets right now are seeing inventory rising. And oh, by the way, homes are sitting on the market longer, which is what's causing this. Back a couple of years ago, maybe 30, 40 days on market. Now we're up over 50, 53 days, median days on market, according to Realtor.com. Sellers may be receiving fewer offers, slightly fewer as measured by NAR, July 23 over July 24, 3.0 to 2.7. I think there's this feeling right now that inventory is rising, sellers maybe not seeing as much activity. And we're going to get into this in a minute. Pricing becomes critically important, and that causes across the country inventory to rise. We started out this year about 3 months of inventory. By July here, mid-month, 4 months of inventory comes out as we're recording the MMR. The August inventory numbers are not out yet, but I would expect they would probably slightly rise coming July to August. Hannah Jones said this: when inventory rises faster than demand, prices have to adjust eventually. Increasing inventory levels are a sign that the market is starting to balance out. And that's where I think the pricing piece becomes so important right now. Pricing your home right is critically important. And oh, by the way, we already see that happening in the number of price reductions across the country. Each month, July through August, we've seen this steady rise in price reductions, and certainly the trend in rising. I think the story there is, if something is priced right, it's going to sell quickly. But if it's not, it's going to require price reduction. So it's going to require people to kind of go, hey, we got to do something different here. Mark Fleming said this: the faster housing supply increases, the more affordability improves and the strength of a seller's market wanes. I think this is going to be a market that is, or a real estate market that is going to be kind of the tale of two markets. Buyers markets over here, sellers markets over here, balanced market a lot of the country. But if you look out and you look across the country, there are still very, very solid buyers markets, very, very solid, in the area of sellers markets. And here's a list from Zillow, top, buyers markets right now. What do you see? A lot of Florida there, Texas there. Which ones are sellers markets? You see there, New York, many there, California. So we're starting to see this sort of separation of the two areas. And I think the bottom line is that folks right now need to be prepared for that. Remember, we talked about pouring in so that you can pour out. This is the information that I want to take to those that I'm working with so that I can give them the perspective they need to make a wise decision. Lisa Sturdivant, she does such a good job at Bright MLS, says buyers and sellers need to be prepared. Sellers should expect more prospective buyers to make an offer contingent on an inspection, more contingencies and repairs and improvements, all the things like that. Buyers, having their ducks in a row is critical. Get pre-approved, getting all the things done. Even though mortgage rates are falling, the rate and type of loan can vary across borrowers. And so having a game plan, being ready for that is what we're talking about right now. I think the bottom line is, whether you are selling your home in a buyer's market or a seller's market, you should work closely with an agent. We believe that 100%, to find the best way to market and sell your home. I think with everything with the NAR settlement, I was asked a question on a panel that I was on. Where should an agent focus their time? And I think this right here, being able to articulate what's happened in the NAR settlement and show the value that you bring to the transaction is critical. I think that's going to continue to be critical over the next 90 days, right? Being the expert out in your market, showing people that will be so important. The other thing that I think will be very, very important is pricing the home right. At listing, pricing right. In most markets right now, if a home is priced right, it is selling. I had a chance to be in Miami a few weeks ago, and Red X, Curtis Finn, a shout out to everybody at Red X, did a phenomenal job breaking down for me the Miami market. And I shared this information on the number of homes that had expired in the month prior, and then went back a year and said how many homes expired a year ago in the same market, and basically came up with this conclusion that if it's overpriced, it's going to expire. You're going to come to a lower price and it's going to sell. And I don't think everybody knows that. But here's what it shows. It's the facts about why price is so important right now. One of the things that's very, very clear, and I give you these to be able to share with those that you're working with, is home price appreciation is moderating. This is a look from Case-Shiller from year-over-year price changes. Back in 2022, when this graphic starts right here in 2022, seeing somewhere in the neighborhood of high teens, if not 20%, year-over-year home price appreciation. Then we kind of dip down in 2023, kind of come back, and somewhere in this range of 4 or 5%, 3, 4, 5%, depending on the market, of home price appreciation. Very normal price appreciation. Not what we saw in the rearview mirror, but very, very normal price appreciation. That somebody that maybe is aspirationally priced is going to be in trouble. Lawrence June said homes priced right are selling very quickly. I think that's true. But homes priced too high are deterring prospective buyers. If something's priced right, then it's going to sell. It's going to be something that folks are interested in. They want to move towards, no doubt about that. So what are the two things you need to understand? I think these are critically important. I'd write it down and remind myself of these when I was out working with people or just working with my team. What's the seller's motivation right now? What do they want to sell? They want to get as much money possible, no doubt. Maybe it's a bigger home. Maybe their family's grown closer to friends and family. Well, what's your motivation? If you're a seller without motivation today and say, let's see what we're going to get, let's aspirationally price the home, probably not going to get anything. What's the seller's time frame? Do they want to sell it quickly? Are they okay? What is their time frame? If I understand motivation and time frame and have those things, understood where it makes sense, then I can give the best advice on how we accomplish that. There are 5 things that every seller needs. That they want the house sold, they want the most money, they need the sale to occur in a certain amount of time with fewer problems, and I may need help on my next purchase. So I think as we start to think about pricing, having that perspective, this comes from the expired listing e-guide that Keeping Current Matters has built. You can go into the member area and grab that if you want that. But if I understand my seller's motivation, I understand what they need, I understand prices are moderating, I have to price it right. I have to price it right. Our team built this graphic, and I love the visual aspect of this. Why pricing a home right matters. If you're underpriced, you're going to lose value. You're going to decrease your buying power on the other transaction, and it deters potential buyers because they start to wonder what's going on there. Well, if you're overpriced, you're going to sit on the market longer. We talked about that. Possibly the listing expires. Potential buyers don't look at it, and price drops start to go, okay, what's going on over there? Maybe they're desperate. Maybe they, something's happened. Maybe there's something wrong with the house. We want to be at market value. I would use this graphic for anybody that I sat down with on a listing presentation and say, this is why I bring you what I believe is the market value. and why it's so important that we understand what the market will bear. We understand what it is based on what you're trying to accomplish. U.S. News said setting an unrealistically high price with the idea that you can come down later doesn't work in real estate. A home that's overpriced in the beginning tends to stay on the market longer, even after the price is cut, because buyers think there must be something wrong with it. I think that's true. And oh, by the way, we've got the facts to prove it, right? Aspirational pricing doesn't work in this market. You could literally print this, have this on your phone, whatever it is, and say every month, slightly just right there, July to August, but every month we've seen more price reductions in this country because of that. It's what we have to stay focused on. I'm going to wrap up this monthly market report this way. We've got a lot of things that are happening right now in the world of real estate. We've got the NAR settlement. We've got mortgage rates starting to see some volatility and coming down. That's a good thing. We have these issues of pricing and sort of turning the corner. Now is the time to put in the work and be out in the market, be the knowledge broker and the educator for those that you serve. Steve Harney, the founder of Keeping Current Matters, said this, and I believe it is true. He said, the character you show over the next 90 days will play a huge part in the reputation you enjoy over the next 10 years. Think about that. The character you show the next 90 days will play a huge part in the reputation you enjoy over the next 10 years. This is the market to build your business. The way you do it is by being the knowledge worker, being the educator with the facts. So we will see you back next month on the monthly market report. Always grateful for everybody that tunes in and listens, and we'll see you next month. Take care.